Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you have your cup of coffee because, hey, it's about time to have that conversation. What do you say? Wait. Almost forgot. Before you do, please take a moment, like and share this program so that your friends can join in the conversation while it is happening. Also, please remember to go fpcgear.com, fpcgear.com. It is a cool place where you can go. You can find all sorts of T-shirts, coffee mugs, hoodies, stickers, stuff like that to help show your support for the Second Amendment. Now, know that every dollar that you spend there goes right back in our fight to keep and bear arms so you can support the Second Amendment and you can look good doing it. That's fpcgear.com. Well, everyone is doing their post-election, post-mortem, breakdown of how the election went. And needless to say, obviously, the Second Amendment and firearms played a major role in this election. And the interesting thing is that the outcome of the election, some people would say, some people would say that the gun control advocates won. Some people would say that the gun rights advocates won. In fact, everyone seems to be claiming victory, but the real question is, who really won?
Gun control advocates are claiming victory in the midterm elections. Congressional candidates with F ratings from the NRA won House seats in several states this week. As Drew Petrimo reports, the gun rights groups are claiming victory in red states where pro-gun Senate candidates came out on top.
Election victories in states like Virginia, Colorado, South Carolina, and Kansas have gun control advocates flying high.
Our bet worked in a lot of places, and we're looking forward to Congress actually moving.
Dory Nolt with Moms Demand Action says her group and others spent big on political ads. And as a result, Democrats with F ratings from the NRA are now headed to the House of Representatives.
Voters voted for them, so it was a clear message.
But pro-gun candidates scored high-profile victories in the Senate in Indiana, Missouri, Tennessee, and North Dakota.
So for us, those are big wins.
Still, Catherine Mortensen with the NRA admits to being in the unfamiliar position of being outspent by the other side.
We simply couldn't compete.
After their investment of time and resources, Moms Demand Action is demanding action, especially in the U.S. House, which is now controlled by Democrats.
The very first thing are background checks on every gun sale.
But political experts say new gun laws are a heavy lift, even with the new balance of power.
The House can pass gun control if it wants. It will not get through the Senate. And if by some miracle it did, Donald Trump will veto it.
In the wake of more mass shootings, the latest in Pennsylvania and California, both sides of the gun debate believe momentum is on their side. But experts say those pushing for change either way will likely run into reality on this issue. Washington gridlock. In Washington, I'm Drew Petrimo.
Here's the Fox 16 bottom line. It didn't go quite as well for gun control advocates in the Senate. Candidates with a strong NRA support, they won the key states of Indiana, Missouri, and Tennessee. And if you're wondering, though, a new Gallup poll finds 61% of Americans are in favor of stricter laws on purchasing guns.
All right, so let's break it down. So in essence, like they said, the gun control advocates won a lot of major victories in the House, but in the Senate, in the end, they would wind up in the Senate. They would wind up losing. We all know that Democrats took over a majority, or the anti-gun community took over a majority of the anti-gun party, took over a majority of the House, but Republican, the pro-gun party, or supposedly pro-gun party, but the pro-gun party actually extended their support in the Senate. This is kind of this is a little bit of kind of how it broke down in terms of people who supported re-election for gun control versus gun rights activists. So if you look here, you'll notice that that all of the circles up here represent those actually who lost. And then the squares obviously are the ones who won, or I'm sorry, the undecided, and then the other ones are the ones who lost. The point that I'm trying to show you here is that many more gun control proponents, or fewer gun control proponents, lost re-election. than did gun rights proponents lost re-election. I think that's an important thing to note, but I also don't think that necessarily is supportive of what they'd say. These sorts of victories actually have really emboldened those who are on the anti-gun side. In fact, here's a quote. It says, 2 years ago, you couldn't have run on gun safety in West and Southwest, said Feinblatt. This year, people ran on gun safety and won. All the indication from public polling and our polling suggests that the NRA had a bad year. Their grades used to be kingmaker, not anymore. Well, here's where I think I want to cast a little bit of doubt and then also say where I agree. One of the things, and we talked a little bit about this several months ago during the campaign, the interesting thing was, well, first of all, let's just note this. They did spend a lot of money, all right? Giffords, the Giffords PAC, that's from the Gabrielle Gifford. Yeah, they spent about $5 million. And Everytown for gun safety spent about pledged $30 million. So there was a lot of money was spent going down to the last couple of weeks. So we'll see how all of the final reporting eventually shakes out. But they spent a lot of money. In fact, this was also in a year where NRA spending was actually down. Now, I say down because they had spent gun rights advocates spent a record amount of money in 2016 in order to help make sure that President Trump got elected. So to say that it's down really isn't fair, but it was down. And they spent a lot of money. But here's the interesting part about it. The interesting thing about it is they didn't spend the money talking about guns. In fact, they spent all their money talking about abortion, talking about health care, talking about racism, talking about Donald Trump, but they didn't spend their money talking about guns. Why didn't they spend their money talking about guns? Because when you actually broke down the polls in terms of looking at where people were on guns and what the priority was, even for those who supported the idea of increased regulation on firearms, it wasn't even in the top 10. But now I tell you that to tell you that their quote unquote victory on the Second Amendment or victory on gun control was not a victory on gun control. It was a victory on money. In other words, they invested a whole lot of money into these candidates, and these candidates won because they were able to get the word out. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that we're going to be looking at more gun control? No, because as was stated in the interview, the House can pass all of the firearms legislation they want. And the good thing about that is then we're going to see we're going to see two things. We're going to see anti-gun Democrats exposed, and we're going to see anti-gun Republicans exposed. And I tell you that because if they believe the narrative, and I can tell you right now that many of them do believe the narrative, not most of them, but enough of them. And if they don't believe it, their consultants believe it. Because right now, you have consultants who are running campaigns who are going to tell their candidates, you need to vote bad on guns. They're going to tell them that. How do I know that? Because they already did. They already did. And so you have people, some of which who the Second Amendment they could really care less about, but hey, they're pro-Second Amendment because they got an R next to their name. Some of them, they're going to go by the wayside. They're going to be revealed. You've also got some people who are pro-Second Amendment, but are too weak to stand up to their political consultants. The people who, by the way, lose election after election, at least here in California. They're not going to stand up to them and tell them, nah, I've got to do what's right. No, they're not going to do that. So you're going to start to see an attempted peeling off. But that's why, when I say this, that's why it's vitally important. When I say vitally, I mean vitally important that we double down. It's important for us. As you see, we are literally fighting not just against billionaires. We're fighting against the labor unions who have the ability to forcefully take money from their employees' checks and use it to support politicians. They're already doing it. So what we need to do is we need to stand up. We need to get active. So, you know, I tell you this to tell you that I know you guys get tired of getting the fundraising emails from gun rights groups. I know you get tired of seeing me on here talking about, you know, asking for money, telling you guys, hey, you need to buy FPC gear or you become a member of FPC. I know you guys get tired of that. But here's the thing, folks. In politics, the battleground requires ammunition. And that ammunition, a big part of that ammunition is financial resources. It just is. And when you're fighting against someone who has the ability to just take money out of people's checks without their permission, when you're fighting against billionaires who can write $10 million checks, $20 million checks, $80 million checks, and it doesn't impact them. When you're fighting against that, the only thing that can defeat them is the grassroots. It's everybody doing a little bit. And I know there are a lot of you out there right now who are saying, well, you know what, I give. And I very much appreciate you. But I can guarantee you right now we have over 300,000 followers on our Facebook page, right? We have 20,000 people who are subscribed to our YouTube channel. We have tens of thousands on other social media platforms. And I'll tell you right now, the majority of you haven't donated a nickel, haven't helped out, haven't been a part of the cause, or at least not to us. Now, maybe you're giving somewhere else. Maybe you're donating somewhere else. Good. I'm glad. I'm not talking to you. I mean, I'd like you to help us, but I'm not talking to you. But I am talking to those people who, you know, if you are simply on this, if you are simply watching these videos, if you're simply reading our posts, if you're not responding to the action alerts when we ask you to email or call a politician about a bill, if you're not contributing, and when I say contribute, I mean whatever you can do, because we know not everybody can give the same amount. But if you're not doing something, if you are not taking action, if all you're doing is simply just, you know, oh, I'm just going to post it on Facebook, or I'm just going to comment on Facebook, well, you ought to leave California. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not help. That is not being involved in the fight. That's being a cheerleader, right? And we all love cheerleaders, but cheerleaders don't win games. Cheerleaders don't put wins on the scoreboard. Cheerleaders root. In the end, we need people who are going to be in the game, people who are going to be in the fight. Because I'm going to tell you right now, this has emboldened them. They now know that if they invest money, they can see some results. So, and that's going to, by the way, scare some of the people who should be on our side. My attitude is, those people who are scared, if you are so scared that you can't stand up for what you know is right, then you deserve to lose. Preferably, I'd like to see you lose early on in the primary to a pro-gun candidate. So we're going to be keeping an eye out. We're going to let you know who are the weak-kneed Republicans who fold on the Second Amendment. And, oh, by the way, who are the bold ones who stand up? You know, I honestly believe that a lot of these, and once again, I haven't gone through and done a detailed analysis in each race, but I look at some of these races here in California, and I keep asking myself, how many of these people do I see on the front lines in the fight for the Second Amendment? They may vote right, but how many of the ones who lost are the bold advocates for the right to keep and bear arms? The type of folks that are willing to stand up and be vocal when everyone else in the media and the mainstream media and whatnot is clamoring that we need to take away people's guns and that we need to repeal the Second Amendment. Where are they? Because it's not enough to just be a good vote. You need to be a good voice. You need to be a voice for the Second Amendment. And right now, I don't see too many voices amongst our elected officials. And those that I have seen, well, they generally were pretty successful this election cycle. Just saying. Anyway, folks, so once again, let's pay attention. Let's be active. Let's be involved. Let's let everybody know about the Firearms Policy Coalition. Because as I always tell you, we are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.